ASBA held its first equity event back in April 2015, and I was the event lead. The presidents of our caucuses and the member of our staff put this event together. It was a first of a kind event. We were so excited. It was going to be educational and inspiring, and we hoped it would encourage people to be really purposeful in their pursuit of educational equity. We had an amazing opening keynote speaker, Dr. Alberto Carvalho, who is superintendent of Miami-Dade County. We had Sean Martin, who's a Navajo teacher and an ultra marathon, and he told his personal story and his family story. And we had Dr. Neil Lester. Dr. Lester is professor of English and the founder of Project Humanities at ASU. And this event happened, it was 3 years after the murder of Trayvon Martin. It was just 9 months after the shooting of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri. And Dr. Lester, who is African American, opened up the second day of the conference. And he delivered a presentation on racism and oppression in today's America that was absolutely unvarnished. It was laid bare. It was graphic. It was raw. There was no escaping racist violence against African Americans, especially young men, in the America that Dr. Lester described. I was prepared for a message unlike any message that had been presented at an ASBA event before. And as he spoke at the event that morning, I felt my stomach churning. I was up at the front of the room. My heart was beating faster. I was totally engrossed in what he was saying, but I could totally feel the tension in the room. And as I looked around, I could see it. I was afraid it was going to be too much for the room to handle. And I was afraid there was going to be backlash. And you know what? There was. When he finished speaking, some people stood and applauded, but it definitely was not the majority of the people in the room. And as soon as he stepped off of that stage, we were on break and there was a buzz in the room. And seriously, within a minute, a woman was standing next to me, clearly upset. And she called the presentation outrageous. And I said, in what way? I'm sure my voice was shaking. And she said, it was just so in your face. I thought it was totally inappropriate. And I paused and I took a deep breath and I just felt this sense of resolve. And I said, but did you think it was true? And she said, yes, but that's not the point. So I've been thinking about that encounter so much lately. This summer, George Floyd's death has been in our face. And some people called all of the protests that followed totally inappropriate, but it's also showed a lot of people that racism is true. You can't hide from it, it's real. And that's what I learned the day of Dr. Lester's keynote, that in order to lead for educational equity, I had to be okay with that discomfort, that tension in the room. I had to get comfortable with discomfort. And as a white woman, I had to find ways to help other white men and white women get comfortable with discomfort too. So this morning I watched the memorial service for American hero Congressman John Lewis, and he is famous for calling nonviolent protests he led and engaged in good trouble. And so as I was thinking about that and this story that I wanted to tell today, I thought what I'm really talking about here is good discomfort, not shame and blame, but good comfort, because comfort is the enemy of change and progress. So in June, a reporter from a local paper called Dr. Lester to talk with him about the murder of George Floyd and all these calls for justice and protests around the country. And I just happened to run across the article, and I remembered how pivotal Dr. Lester's keynote was in my own personal growth and professional growth around racism and being an anti-racist. And he told the reporter he had no emotional energy at that moment to talk about Mr. Floyd's death. And he told that reporter, no, he definitely was not okay. And he suggested to the reporter, who was white, to pose this question to other people. How are you feeling right now? Are you okay with this? Are you okay with what you just saw? If you're paying attention, are you not outraged? And so I guess that's what I'd like to leave school leaders with this, and how I'd like to use my voice going forward. When I hear statistics and stories about the lack of access and opportunity and these systems that are in place that are producing winners and losers based on race and ethnicity, income, gender identity, I want to say I'm not okay. And with no shame or blame, but really with an invitation to join in this good discomfort, I want to use my voice to ask other school leaders, other public education leaders in Arizona, are you paying attention to those inequities in your district? Are you ready to feel some healthy, productive outrage and to take action and to be uncomfortable, to have that good discomfort.